What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Hope you're doing well. Hope that you are doing well. And a happy new year to you. 2022 is here with us. And guess what? We are kicking off 2022 with a bang. That's right. We're coming out the box with it. And I wanted to do a follow up. I did a video a couple months ago in reference to people throwing shade at Ghana. And before we get there, I do want to let you know we got some exciting things happening in Ghana, Egypt, and Tanzania. And I'll even talk a little bit about this in the talk coming up this year. So make sure that you check in with us and bit.ly travel to Africa. It'll be in the description, and you'll be able to connect and see what all we have going on this year on the continent of Africa. So let's dive into this a little bit. All right. So a couple months ago, I did a talk. It was really kind of random, but I talked about people throwing shade at Ghana, and it was I didn't realize that it was this hot topic of an issue because it was only one particular person who I kept seeing this recurring theme. But then in my feed, I just kept seeing all these different names pop up. I was like, well, no, I was only talking about one person, and this one person clearly had business interest in West Africa and had a reason to throw the shade. It wasn't like he offered any critical analysis or anything to try to improve the situation in Ghana. It was like straight up, Ghana, they're on a money grab from you. They just want your money, and that's it. And that's it. They just want your money. And it was something I was like, wow, I said, this is kind of deep. So my American instinct, my Afro-Black American brown, whatever you want to call it, American instincts kicked in and say, this feels like a hood move. Because typically what people will do is if there's something going on they don't like, they will throw shade at that thing to try to get people to sway over to them. So it's a business tactic, and I said, okay, this is probably a business move. I said, but then it feels a little bit deceptive. I said, because where he's trying to take people to, it's not how he's selling it. He's selling it as paradise, but in actuality, it needs some work, especially if you're going after this particular audience. So I'm only thinking business-wise, saying if you're going after this audience, what you're doing might be a bit deceptive, because by the time they get there and they find out all of the challenges that they have to go through in that environment, Ghana might not look so bad. So I was like, wow. I said, this is kind of deep that I'm seeing this. And I said, it's kind of sad because it felt like a play, like a colonized play, like a plantation play. Instead of just saying, hey, you know what, we got this going on over in this country. Why tear down this country at the same time? Why do that? And so what it said to me is that clearly, maybe this person does have a knowledge of what's going on, but it didn't appear to, because you're really taking the people to the same system, because they all have the same colonial masters calling the shots behind the scenes. Some are just a little bit more advanced in their colonialism than others. And then that's really what it boils down to. But it was really kind of sad to see, because now it created this divisiveness. And it creating the divisiveness, I think it brought other people into the conversation that might not have had to be in that particular conversation, because I've not seen anyone else doing what this person is doing and how they're going about doing it. It's very immature. It's very, but it may be effective because they're making money with it, because the bottom line, they talk about like Ghana being after money or another country being after money. All of them are after money. They're businesses. They want money. So whenever we think anything otherwise, we've fallen into the delusion of something else. They all want our money. And so they're going to compete for the money. And and maybe that's what that person is going with, to say, hey, well, you know what, I'm doing this. We're going to compete for this money, and then we're going to throw shade this way or that way. Now, for me, just so to be clear, I do take tours to Ghana, but I also take tours to Egypt. I also take tours to Tanzania. I mean, I'll be taking tours to a variety of different places. So my interest is not, I got to protect, the Ghana interest. There are plenty of people want to go to Ghana, but I am going to talk about a few things as it pertains to Ghana and a few other places that kind of offer a balanced perspective to it. Because I think what people want is for people to not talk about anything negative, which is disingenuous if you have investors coming in and you just try to paint a picture for them that is not accurate, or you're not being recognizing their cultural expectations and you don't speak to that. then now it makes you look as though you've not done your due diligence as someone leading them in business. So it is important to have the difficult conversations, but I think that the ultimate goal, or the ultimate goal, is to make it where it can be a win for all parties and not just trash a country and just leave them out there and just say, hey, this place is trash. They just want your money because this the place that these lead them to want the money too. So clearly they want the money too. It's like, so and you can call both sides, but nobody's mad. They want the money. Everybody, America want the money. You want the money. I want the money. Everybody want the money. Everybody wants the money because they got bills to pay. So that's that's just, it is what it is. The next thing, and this is what I tell people, because I hear this thing a lot, and they say, well, they warn me about Nigerians everywhere. You better watch out for them Nigerians. You better watch out them Nigerians, them Nigerians, them Nigerians. Oh, you better be careful with them Nigerians. So I keep hearing this over and over, and I tell people, I said, look, I come from a place where it doesn't, and this is not a blanket statement on anyone, but I'm saying you got to watch out for some of these African Americans too. I said, because they will come over. The thing you have to be careful of with some African Americans when they come over to Africa and other places is that they're not coming with the white man's mentality, meaning the colonized man's mentality. Because a lot of them are coming over with that mentality to exploit the people the very same way that the colonizers continue to exploit. So just because somebody has brown skin or looks a particular way doesn't mean anything. And so you just got to kind of be mindful of that. And of course, it's not a blanket statement on all African Americans. A lot of so-called African Americans come over and have the great intentions and looking to do a tremendous amount to add to the continent. But then there are others who are just coming over there to look like carve their little colonized section and keep the indigenous people away. And that's how they want to roll. And that's the mentality they come with. And so you just got to be mindful of that. That's a individual kind of person with an individual particular kind of mindset. And they create these little clusters of colonies. That's what they're looking to do. I don't think a lot of times they realize what's going on. I think that's the part, because coming from America, it would probably be considered a so-called African American. I say so-called because even that term is warped. But a lot of times, many of us don't even know. We don't even know our own history well enough to even understand our own behaviors. So we don't even understand our own mindsets and where they come from. And so we might call it black culture, or that's how we roll, but really it's influenced by colonization and white culture and white supremacy. We don't realize it because what we know is our culture, and we don't even dig deep enough to look into the origins. I tell people all the time, look for the origins of something, and then it will start answering some of the questions. So I say that because I'm very mindful of when we use the term improve things, because that could also be perceived from a colonized mentality perspective, meaning Western culture. So we want to improve things. Now, that's the same mindset they came over with from the East when they came over to the West to say, we're going to go over to these lands and improve things. We're going to go down into Africa. And that's what many of the missionaries and different people, we want to go improve these savages and improve them. So we have to be very, very mindful when using the term improve things, and that it's not rooted in that type of mentality, that colonized mentality. Now, on the flip side, if these countries are looking to attract a particular audience, say you're looking to attract so-called African Americans or so-called European, people from the West, there is going to, if you're going to attract them in numbers that will generate the resources you're looking for, there are definitely things that you want to be mindful of according to what they're used to. So it doesn't mean that it's so much better, but if it's just like if you have a television audience, if you have a radio audience, if you have any kind of audience, you want to do and have things in place that will appeal to that audience. Otherwise, you will lose that audience, and that audience will complain, and they will say, hey, listen, you want my money, but these things I'm not familiar with. And so sometimes, and that's why I said there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, there's some things that need to improve if you want these resources. Now, some people say, well, fine, don't come, this, that, and the other. But on the flip side, it's all about business. So anybody who has a service-oriented business, you want to be mindful. If I go to a restaurant and I was one restaurant that I went to, and it would take an hour to serve the food. Well, I just stopped going there because by the time I'm not even hungry anymore. By the time they bring me the food, it's either cold, I got to wait 30 minutes to pay the bill. those types of things are not obviously you're saying to someone, I want your money, but I don't care about my level of service. And so in from people coming from a Western culture, that's not acceptable for that particular culture. But yet, if people want to reap the benefits of it, like for example, if I had a restaurant in any country, wherever it is, customer service is going to be off on the point because I know I'm gonna win. I know I'm gonna win just based on customer service because other people's customer service falls off to the point and their attitude is, well, fine, don't come. Okay, cool. Now going into my business mind, okay, cool. While you running them away, come on. We got you. We're going to take care of you. What you need? What you want to have a seat here? Okay, cool. Treat everybody equitably, the whole nine. They will have the best customer service, and that's how I would win in that game if I'm looking at it from a business perspective because you understand where a need needs to be filled, and you fill that need. And that's why I say anybody in a country, whoever masters customer service is going to win. That's a gem I just gave you. Run with it, and all of that. So the other thing is learning how to play the game while making improvements. One thing that people, when you're coming into indigenous cultures, they do not want you coming in there changing their culture. That you can come in there and say, I'm improving things, I'm gonna make things better for you. They will look at you and be as passive aggressive and say, no, I don't want you to do a thing. Don't even come if you're gonna try and come and change me. And that's understandable because people don't want someone coming in trying to impose their way of life on them. So for the wise business person, you learn the culture and you get into the culture and then you establish the relationships. And then you begin, if you see some areas that could use some improvement where it's not offensive to people, then you might suggest it. But sometimes you got to learn how to play. Hey, listen, if you want to get something done, you might have to say, okay, here's a couple extra of this. All right, make it happen. If that's the culture, it might not be your ethics. It might not be what you know in your culture. But if you're trying to move things ahead faster, then you got to learn the culture that you're in. I mean, I remember I was in Sierra Leone and had a real good conversation with some folks that were like, listen, if you're trying to make it in Sierra Leone, you can't come over here with that Western mentality because you'll get frustrated and you'll get stuck. So you just need to learn how they do things here and then go fit in with that system, and then you're able to accomplish what you need to accomplish. Now, for some people, that's too much for them. They can't handle that. They can't handle that there are on-the-ground systems, but the Chinese understand it. The Chinese get it. The Lebanese get it. They get it. Oh, okay, this is what I got to do. Okay, because they play to win. So they're not in their emotions. They're not sitting there whining, complaining about this ain't right, that ain't right. They say, okay, so how do I win? Okay, this is what you need to do to win. Okay, cool. See, so that's the part where a lot of people get stuck because they're coming in thinking, this is how it should be. And this is based on what I know, this is how it should be. In their world, this is how it is. And if you want to play, this is how it's going to be. And that's the way of the world, everywhere. If you come to America, you'll run into the same thing. You come in from a different culture and you try to do some of that stuff, then you end up in jail. So it's all kind of things. You just got to know your culture. I will say this, and this was not from the person who I was referring to, but I know, brother, he was talking about what was going on at that airport. And it was, I thought it was very compelling. I thought what he said was 100% on point. And the lady, when she came in from Nigeria, and they said that she had, and I know people who've had these results come in, and she made a statement that resonated with me, and I will never forget it. She said, "If I am so sick, then take me to the hospital." And those guys standing there that were basically holding her hostage for this positive COVID test, allegedly supposed positive COVID test, they were like, we're not taking you to the hospital. And that right there was unacceptable. That was unacceptable. And this was at the Kotoka airport in Ghana. And you can see the place. I mean, the video tells the whole story. And so she's there, and you can't deny it. How can you deny this? I mean, it is what it is. I mean, how can you sit up there and say, well, no, if somebody's sick, then provide them with the medical care that they need and don't just put them in some holding area and basically treat it like a prisoner. If people are sick, then there's a level of care that they should get. If you're saying they're sick with this deadly virus, then there's a level of care that they should be able to anticipate. Now, right after that, I believe that there were some modifications to the quarantining and all of that. But that was something that somebody should say something about. There's no shade in that at all. That there's a problem if that is occurring exactly the way that it appeared to occur. That is a real problem. That should be addressed with the airport authority, and it should be done. That's just human. That's just human. If somebody's sick, they should get care. If you're saying they're sick with a deadly virus, they should be getting some care and not just dumped in an area and left to sit until whatever. Um, Now, as far as money being siphoned and all of that, I don't know. I know that if you're gonna play the game, sometimes hey, cultures, you figure it out, you learn. I don't know. I can't speak to it, and I don't want to wrongly accuse someone. The next thing is, should people ask questions about the sudden change in the vax policy for a country that has had minimal impact from the recent endemic that we've been dealing with versus a country that has almost a line of cars, almost a line long just to get tested? That is, people should ask questions about that. And I think that really raised a lot of red flags for a lot of people. I know people who were getting ready to move there and they changed their whole plan. I know a lot of people decided they were just going to do something different because of the uncertainty of it. I don't even think if it was a policy that was already in place, then they could have dealt with it. But it was like this sudden change, and it was like, whoa, if you all can do a knee jerk reaction like that, and remember these are puppets, so it's like who's calling the strings on this? So people started asking questions, and it became very unsettling for some. Now, it's as far as like the business minded person, they know that this will blow over and this will go on, and they'll go on and make their money, or they have a system in place where they actually don't have to go to the country and still get things done. So those are just things that people. That's something but you do want to ask that question, and I think it was a wake up call that you cannot escape the hand of colonization. You might think that you're going to Africa to get away from certain things. The only thing that you get away from is the blatant racism if you're leaving a country that has racism. But as far as the system is controlled by the same people, the same players. When they sit down and make decisions, they put the puppets there to keep the people calm, but the same people call the shots. And that's just the sad reality of what it is. And I know people like to argue with me, no, we're really independent. Okay. You can believe that if you want to. But just watch who calls when they're ready to call the shots, then you'll see exactly how this whole thing goes down. My concern, in addition to all of this, is the everyday person who's trying to build their business, and they should be considered in these conversations as well. So I try to make sure that when I'm having conversations, that I take into consideration the people on the ground who are trying to survive. So that's why you won't hear me disparage a country, and you won't hear me disparage. You might hear me talk about certain elements, judicial elements, or certain aspects of government. But as far as an entire group of people, it's not. It defeats the purpose, because between the ingenuity on both sides and the talent and skills on both sides of the Atlantic, it's like there's so much that can be done. So I'm always mindful of that, and uh, it I feel for when I hear people throw shade at a country without really considering the impact that it's having on the people, because they're upset with the government. So they're throwing the shade at the government without distinguishing the difference between the people and the impact that it's having on the people. And so that's even when I see things that I don't like that might be like out of control. Like there's some videos I could have done on particular restaurants in different countries, but I decided not to do it because I thought about the people working at the restaurants. I thought about some hotels that have piss poor service in certain countries. And I said, if I put this video out, now granted, it could lead to improvement. I said, but because some things I have put out there, but sometimes I stop and I think to myself, is this really going to be beneficial for the people on the ground? And so one restaurant in Ghana is a very popular restaurant, but the service is just, oh man, I haven't been back and I won't go back because the service is just so bad. So there's a hotel, if you will, establishment, same thing, just so bad. But I could have gone and put a video out about it and just disparaged the whole thing and say, hey, y'all keep your money away from it. I said, what I'll do, I said, in those particular cases, because they were both Ghanaian owned, I said, in this particular case, what I will do, I will refrain from this and let them know directly, so that if they want to try to correct it or whatever, then they can. But I won't go put them on blast like that just because of I'm frustrated or something like that. And then thinking about the people on the ground, I talked to some people making 100 CDs, 600 CDs a month, and that's like $100 a month. That's what they're making to survive off of. So I think about all of that when it comes to being responsible, especially when you do have an audience and people are paying attention to you. It is important to just consider that. I mean, it's a part of maturity. I think we're all learning and growing and maturing at different levels and different rates. But everything can't be about that money, because you can make plenty of money and not be ruthless and gangster and childish. You can make plenty of money. You can make money for days and not be like that. The other thing is remembering that these are, according to Western standards, these are so-called developing countries. So there are things that do need to be put in place if they're going to be trying to aspire to cater to the West. I mean, you can't have open gutters and roads and potholes everywhere and stuff like that, and attract that audience successfully over a sustained a period of time. But I think people recognize and they know that there's going to have to be some infrastructure. But on the flip side, do they now want to indebt themselves to China like that? See, so it's the dynamics that come with it, because guess who's going to build the roads and all of that? Either the Chinese or the Koreans or somebody going to come in, or the Indians, somebody going to come in, some foreign entities going to come in and build those roads and put that country into debt. So you got to look at that. And the other thing I want to make sure that I do is not get into the plantation wars. And when I say that, meaning, people spending more time fighting each other than actually building everything up. And that's what I look to do. If when I hear, again, it's only one person that has caught my attention to say, nah, that's legitimate shade. The others that I've seen do it, they've offered constructive criticism. I've seen to where there was analysis to say, hey, listen, let's make some improvements here or there. So I haven't sensed it, like I said, in my chat, folks going in on a few people. I was like, oh wow, I didn't, but I recognize that, and how people perceive it is how they perceive it. I know, somebody tried to come on my page and say, well, you're disparaging Ghana and you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, I said, is this the same conversation? Because they went into talking about how I was something about the Fanti and the Ashanti, and I'm saying, now I never mentioned anything. First of all, I never said anything disparaging. So that's the one thing about it. I was like, but I said, this person must be triggered by something and thinking that I'm in that group. And I'm like, if you look at the history of my videos and the love I show towards Ghana, I was like, I don't even know how you even come up with any country that I show anything disparaging. If you look at, I'm venturing to say probably 95% or more of my content, you will see where 95% of it is overwhelmingly positive. And then it'll be something, probably talking about them judges with them wigs or the white Jesus or something like that, that I'll say, hey, what's up with this? What's going on with this? But outside of that, it's like, hey, so that person, there were people in the feed who kind of checked that person. I think you got the wrong person. I think you assuming the wrong thing, because that he's not that one. And it's not that, if I see something wrong, I have no problem calling it out. I mean, but my whole thing is not to spend my time trying to tear down an African country that has been dealing with being torn down for over 500 years. That's where the foolishness of it all comes in. To say, why am I going to waste my energy trying to tear down any African country that has been torn down for over 500 years? And the last thing it needs is a descendant of it to come and try to tear it down. Now, improving it, sure, from the standpoint of clean trash, pick up trash or whatever. But as far as tearing it down, that doesn't make sense. It's like I'm tearing myself down. Well, no, I'm not African, I'm American. We fight the same battle. I know people in the delusion world, but we fight the same battle. So as we kick off 2022, I'm excited about 2022 because I look forward to people checking out all of these wonderful countries and being able to see for themselves. And I mean, I look right here, Egypt, Tanzania, Ghana. You'll see challenges in all of those countries, but you'll also see the beauty. And if you're mature enough to be able to recognize it, it's something that I believe will be quite beneficial for you. And so I'm looking to complete the rest of the book series. Got the book for Kilimanjaro coming up. As a matter of fact, when it comes to Kilimanjaro, I have the new documentary that I'm working on. So which I think that's going to be really exciting for people to see because that particular documentary is going to open a lot of people's minds and eyes and ears to what that trip to Mount Kilimanjaro was all about. So anyway, that's what I got, y'all. Let's not throw shade. Let's throw love. I know that's so cliche, but that's the deal. That's what my platform is about, to have genuine conversations, offer genuine solutions, and to improve the entire continent of Africa in any way. When I say that, meaning not from Western standards, but just from a conversational standard, so we're not sitting there fighting and arguing each other. As a matter of fact, Tanzania is on the way. Check this out. And don't forget to pick up The Adventures of Darren and Destiny books. That's right. Let's go ahead and move these books. I would love to sell this year. I would love to be able to sell 10,000 of these books this year. I would love to be able to do that. Put this information in our children's hands so they can get a better narrative of the continent of Africa. You got Ghana, Tanzania, and Zanzibar, which is in Tanzania. You got all three. Then you got Kilimanjaro, which is on the way. That book is coming. As a matter of fact, you're going to see a lot of scenes from this clip right here in the Kilimanjaro book. So until next time, be good, be safe. Talk to you soon.
Made you say, I'm going to go climb Kilimanjaro.
When I went to Ghana, I knew that there was something missing.
Why'd you go to Ghana? What started the whole?
What started the whole thing was curiosity. And I did the Ancestry DNA, then I did African Ancestry. Then when I was doing the whole Uber experiment, I was meeting all these people from Africa. And there was this one young lady from Ethiopia, and then she told me, oh, this Ethiopia is this great place, you need to go. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, whatever, okay, I'm gonna go one day on my bucket list. But then I did the Ancestry, and this whole piece about Africa kept coming up in my mind. And then I just decided to do it. I said, I'm gonna stop waiting around, I'm gonna do it. From there, went to Ghana, and the first thing that hit me is that, wait a minute, there's something I wasn't told. Just had lunch, and we are getting ready to start this journey. We're getting a lot more footage along the way, so stay tuned. So we made it to the top after the rock scramble. Life above the clouds is completely different. Behind me is the summit. We're on our way. We are in a cloud. That's what's happening.
I'm dressed like a handmaid.
This is literally like from another planet.
Wakaribishwa Kilimanjaro, hakuna matata.